Hey everyone, welcome to the Tom's Hardware Show for July 1st, 2021. Sharon, who normally is our host, is out this week. So I'm your guest host, Abram Pilch, Editor-in-Chief of Tom's Hardware. We are joined today by Tom's Hardware staff writer, Michelle Earhart, and by our very special guest, Mac Marshall from Turtle Beach.
Hey everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm literally fresh back from taking a vacation, so I apologize if anything I say is slow. I'm still getting back in the swing of work today, but I'm definitely excited to be here and talk to you guys about all the new stuff that we have.
That's great. That's great. So tell us a bit about Turtle Beach. I know Turtle Beach is several different brands now.
Yeah, I mean, most people are familiar with Turtle Beach because we've been the leading console gaming headset kind of brand for over a decade now. It's like 10 plus years where we've been the de facto leader in gaming headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, you name it. And a couple of years ago, we started kind of branching out, and we acquired Roccat, which is already was an award-winning PC brand, and so we acquired them. And then even now, just this year in January, we announced that we had acquired Neat Microphones. So now you kind of have this three-headed beast of Turtle Beach on one side, and then Roccat for PC accessories, and then now Neat Microphones for the microphones side of things.
Oh, neat. So all the brands have some really amazing new products right now that you can show us.
Yep.
What starting with Turtle Beach, what does Turtle Beach have that's new?
Sure. So this is kind of a neat thing, right? So at E3 a couple weeks ago, we announced that we're kind of, as the Turtle Beach brand is kind of branching out, moving beyond the gaming headset space, right? So we now announced kind of entering into two different markets. One is like the gamepad controllers market, and that is with this guy here, which is the Recon controller. And then also you can see behind me, and I'll pick it up and bring it closer in a second, which is the Velocity One Flight, which is our upcoming flight simulation hardware. So two very different markets. I'll start with the Recon controller. And this one is, it's going to be available in black and white. It's coming in later this month. And basically, in short summary, this combines just game-winning controls with kind of Turtle Beach's signature audio, right? So you can kind of plug any wired headset into the Recon controller, and you get all of the kind of benefits from Turtle Beach's signature audio, like everything from superhuman hearing. You get audio presets. You get, what else is there? We have like a preset buttons on the bottom where you can kind of, we have Pro Aim Focus Assist where you can kind of like hit the button here and it slows down your aim depending on what you want. So there's like a 25% or 50% or 75%, however you want. So you can kind of aim better. And I mean, honestly, just for the superhuman hearing alone, it's completely worth it, right? Because like if you're somebody who plays really like Fortnite, Call of Duty, any of the bigger shooters, like especially where hearing everything around you is so important. I mean, just to have that on and be able to hear where somebody's coming from, you can hear where they're coming first, and you get the drop on them. It's kind of a game-changing audio enhancement, right? So, and at $59.95 when this comes out, I mean, that's kind of our bread and butter, is that we've been making products here where we try and find that sweet spot of offering more and keeping the price competitive, right? So you get all of our audio expertise plus kind of the game-winning controls, and it's got like the cooling it's got the cooling grips, which is neat if you're a sweaty hands gamer like some of us may or may not be. And it legitimately works too, which is kind of great. It's fun. I remember I picked it up for the first time. I was like, oh, this feels almost like the hand equivalent touch of like our cooling gel ear cushions on the headset side when it touches your skin. So it actually really works really well. And the other one too is that it's USB. It's a wired controller. I know I'm showing it like this, but it's actually a USB-C plug on top. And And it's designed in that same kind of way where, if somebody were to walk by and kick the cable, or the dog runs by, it kind of just pops out and breaks away really easily, and not going to yank the controller out of your hands and, damage something else in the house. And so these two, this is the Recon controller will be for Xbox when it comes out. And we're also looking at controllers for other things in the future too.
Cool. So that switch that lowers your aim reminds me of the buttons that a lot of mice have. What I have right now is a G402 Hyperion Fury, which is a little old, but it has this thing called a sniper button right here. You can press that and it'll temporarily lower your DPI. Does it work sort of like that, but for mouse sensitivity?
I guess in this, like the way I've seen it work is it slows your kind of your sight down, right? So just depending on, like, sometimes it goes really quick, and like I said, there's 4 different kind of adjustments you can do kind of based on your preference. But yeah, it certainly helps with that, like that kind of sniper, aimed on the sight, whatever you want to do.
Awesome.
Wow. So that's great. What are some of the other new products you have?
Yeah, the other one, let me step back here real quick and grab it. This is the other big bad boy. This is Velocity One Flight. It is our brand new, like, groundbreaking flight simulation control hardware, and it has everything on it in the sense that whether you're somebody who flies like Cessnas and smaller planes, or if you're somebody who flies larger commercial jetliners, it's set up for everything, right? So there's nothing else out there on the market that's like this. And all of the other kind of stuff that's out there now is kind of older tech, and this is all groundbreaking, brand new. And there's a funny story behind all of this, which is our CEO, Jurgen Stark. He's actually a pilot, and it's a big pastime of his, right? He loves flying. He has a legitimately amazing flight simulation setup at his house. But he actually got invited out to Microsoft early last year before we were all locked down for the pandemic, and he saw Flight Sim 2020 before it came out on PC, and it blew him away, just like it blew all of us away last year when we started seeing like the first videos and the first screenshots of just how beautiful the game looked. And as a pilot, he came back and was like, oh man, like this is amazing. And they also let him know at the time that they were planning to bring Flight Sim 2020 to Xbox. And so it's an interesting kind of scenario where bringing a game like that to Xbox just opens the door up for so many more people to try and experience flight, right, on Xbox, where, you know, you're going to have an audience of people who are just going to try it out because they want to. You're going to have an audience of people who want to try it out so they can try and fly around Paris, because you can literally look out and see what flying over Paris looks like if you haven't been. And there's going to be another audience of people that are going to try it because they actually want to learn to fly and want to try different things. So again, like, to offer something like this where it has the setup for both like commercial airliners as well as like small planes, and including everything from, I mean, these are called like, you know, these are the vernier controls, which you would see on like smaller, you know, planes like a Cessna. Everybody who's learned to fly is familiar with these controls. And then these levers up here are more for like the commercial airliner setup, right? And you also have a trim wheel right here, which you can adjust. And there's all sorts of like lights and other kind of warnings, and you can kind of customize this. There's like this, I can't do it right here, but this little piece slips out, it's magnetic, and there's different warnings. And there's a couple other options on there for depending on what your setup that you're used to when you fly. And so what's neat about this is it's all inclusive, right? So if you were to go buy currently like all of the different pieces that you would need to make that system up based on what's available like now, you're going to spend probably like well over $600, give or take. And when this thing comes out later, I think it's later this month, it's going to be $349, right? So that's like the key here. It's gonna, anybody who's like a flight sim enthusiast who's been waiting for like, oh man, I need to get a new controller. Like once this is out, this is what they're gonna go get. And it mounts to your desk. It just plugs in. It also works on Windows PC. So if you wanted to play like, you know, whether on PC or on Xbox, it works on either platform. And it's just gonna be a game changer once it launches. I think a lot of people are gonna to really kind of gravitate towards this based on the feedback that we've seen from, especially from like the flight sim crowd. That's already like, oh man, like we have to get that. So it's really, really interesting.
I noticed that it has a little sort of heads-up display on the
Yes.
on the wheel. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So this is also again just for Xbox, and I don't have it plugged in right now. But like, there's a whole little like color LED right here, and you'll be able to even pick like there's presets for like, hey, do you just want to do like the kind of basic settings for like small aircraft, or you don't want to do the basic settings for big aircraft? And then again, it's like full, like it gets full rotation on the yoke, right? There's also the triggers. So we have like the rudder controls are mapped to the triggers. So it's a full Xbox kind of style controller. So we're able to kind of give you the full setup instead of having pedals underneath. But that's not to say that in the future, you know, as we look beyond this first entry into the sim hardware stuff, you know, we're not looking at either of these, whether it's the Recon controller or the sim hardware. We're not looking at them as like once and done entries into the market, right? So for like on the sim stuff, there's pedals we could be doing in the future for an even broader setup. And then there's also like the racing category of racing wheels and racing pedals and other things that we're looking at too. And then same thing for controllers. I mean, obviously, like we're starting with Xbox. We've been partners with Xbox for a really long time. And, you know, I'm sure somewhere down the line, there's stuff for other platforms as well.
I'm glad you mentioned pedals because I was going to ask about that. One other question I have about that, though, is I have right here a Logitech Thrustmaster, and it's sort of like one of those military
or fighter stick,
shooty bang bang fighter stick. Same thing. So, and obviously, this is much more of a sort of like what an actual aircraft pilot in the real world would use for the most part, or a civilian pilot. I assume you went that direction probably because this was built with Microsoft Flight Sim in mind, but can you tell us a little bit more about that choice, I guess?
I mean, I think the choice was really that we wanted to have an all-in-one unit that was like, could work for whatever you wanted to, right? So whether you wanted to be like the small planes or the large planes, you can do whatever. You could also, like, if there's any other flight-enabled games on Xbox, it'll work with that as well. And going back to your other point and my other point as well about other products, like more of the fighter flight sticks is another thing that we're also looking at.
Awesome.
Too,
cool.
Right? So again, this is just the first, and we're very confident this is going to perform well when it comes out, just based on what we've seen, you know, coming out of the gates with it at E3.
That's great. I started playing flight sims recently because of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then I just went into Star Wars Squadrons, and then I booted up Ace Combat 7. It just opened up a whole new door for me. And I just like, I want to buy all sorts of new peripherals for it. Yeah,
and it's cool. It's really simple to mount too, because you just have this. There's just like a part right here on top where you just pop this off. It comes with its own like Allen wrench, and there's these two bolts. You just undo them, and you have these two little. There's one right there. These just drop down and lower, and then you tighten it back up under your desk, and it just clamps it on. And they're all padded, so you're not going to scratch up your desk or anything. It's really well done, really well thought out, simple to do, simple to set up, simple to plug in. It's all USB-C, and then to standard USB in the back of your PC or into your Xbox.
Awesome.
Wow, fantastic.
And again, $349 when it comes out. I mean, that's just going to reset the entire category and for what people should be expecting to pay for, like, you know, top of the line kind of flight hardware.
I almost wonder if other flight stick manufacturers are going to be mad at you for that.
I'm sure they are.
Well, that drives innovation, so that's really fantastic to see. So what other exciting new products do you guys
so that kind of covers the Turtle Beach side of things. And then, you know, like we also launched, I don't know if you guys saw, but recently we just launched the Recon 500 headset, which again, you know, is a wired headset and would be a great kind of addition to go with like your Recon controller, right? It's a pretty nice looking setup here. And what's cool about this guy has the dual 60 millimeter dual driver, right? So it sounds amazing. And for the price, it's, you know, the sound is pretty hard to beat at that like, you know, the price that you're getting that at.
That does look fantastic.
Right.
So
And
is that's USB or 3.5 millimeter
just
jack?
3.5 wired headset, standard, plugs into any controller that has that, you know, the interface. And then and this isn't necessarily new. This did launch a couple weeks ago, but again, just that's kind of our latest headset from the Turtle Beach side of things. if I wanted to switch gears and go to Roccat, so I mentioned we acquired Roccat a couple years ago. They're now Turtle Beach's award-winning PC brand. And so what we've been doing the past, since we acquired them is kind of helping expand their lineup, kind of like we have on the headset side of things. We have headsets at every price point, catering to a wider audience of gamers and what their preferences and desires are. So we've been kind of working to expand Rocket's offering of keyboards and mice and headsets. And so this is the latest offering. This is the Syn Pro Air. And this is Rocket's $150 wireless headset. Last year, we launched something called the ELO series headsets. And those are 3 different headsets at 3 different price points. And the highest one was a $99 wireless headset called the ELO Air. So this one takes things up a few more notches and kind of has everything on it that you expect at the $150 price point. So you have full 3D audio done by Waves. You have the glasses friendly tech, the cooling gel. This is a flip to mute microphone, and it's also removable. And one of the cool things that we did on this one, which is kind of simple, is we actually put a plug just in case you're somebody who doesn't, not going to be using the microphone. We just put a cover on it, right? So it kind of keeps it a little bit clean if you're not using the mic.
Oh, that's interesting.
I love that feature.
I'm speaking on my Blue Yeti right now, but I'm using my gaming headset. So I just have this useless mic sitting here in shot.
I'm so embarrassed. I hate it.
I'm sorry.
No, not for you. I mean,
I know.
Me too. So that's a great feature.
Right. And this launched, this one just launched a couple weeks ago. And what's also cool about this is the Syn Pro Air is the first Roccat product to also introduce the new software, which is called Neon. And so everything from Roccat up until now has been working off of Swarm. And there's nothing wrong with Swarm. That's the software that's gotten us to where we are today. But we just been saying it's time for a new car, right? So Neon is the kind of forward-looking replacement for Swarm, and it launches with Syn Pro Air. It's already out there now. You can go download it now. And then eventually, as we launch future products for Roccat, they're going to be launched into the Neon environment. And we'll also start pulling in some of the kind of, more recent past products from Swarm into Neon, so that we'll have everything in there eventually.
Wow, great. That's really wonderful. So do you have any more Roccat stuff that you want to talk about?
That was just it on the Roccat side. I mean, we've been busy with Roccat, adding more keyboards. We've added another, we have, I'm pulling things off my desk here. We have the Vulcan TKL and TKL Pro. We launched the Cone Pro mice just like a month or so ago.
Ooh, I like the RGB on that. That's really cool.
It's got like a hex pattern.
Yeah, and actually what's neat about that, and I don't have this turned on yet, but these right here do the same thing. Like you'll be able to see the kind of hexagonal kind of honeycomb lighting.
I was curious when you said that the software was called Neon. I'm like, surely that headset doesn't have RGB.
Yeah, in fact, hold on.
Yeah, gotta have some RGB, right?
So you can see on the box where that's how they light up.
That's slick. That's really nice.
Pretty neat. So it looks really cool. And whether or not you have Neon installed, so actually all of the stuff will work out of the box. The lighting works even without having Neon installed. And then once you install Neon, that's when you can start to kind of do more customization and change things to your liking, right? So there's a 10-band equalizer. There's, you can kind of adjust the lighting. You can do a handful of other kind of things to make the headset work the way you want it to work.
I always loved headset RGB because you can't see it. It's to brag to the people around you.
Totally.
It's legit.
But that's what matters, right? I've been trying to see about what kind of better headset can I get for doing broadcasts, because this just looks ugly, right? But I also like Mac's style here, where he's able to, so you're not wearing any headset, but you're getting really good audio.
Yeah, and
how are you doing it?
That takes us to our third thing. Thank you for the segue. So the third piece of Turtle Beach is back in January this year, we announced that we acquired Neat Microphones. And if you're not familiar, Neat Microphones is the same kind of handful of guys that founded way back when Blue Microphones. A few years back, Logitech had acquired Neat. Logitech had acquired Blue Microphones. The guys who started up Blue, they had left and started up Neat Microphones a little while after that. And they launched the first round of mics, which is called the B mics. And so I have one right here. This is a Gen 1. This is called a B caster, right? This is one of their first round mics. And I think you might even have another one very similar in front of you, I believe.
Yeah, I have. I'm talking right now, but it does such a good job. I keep it out of the frame, right?
Yeah, me too.
I have the
the Bumblebee, right?
The Bumblebee.
So yeah, and so we acquired Neat, and again, looking at kind of taking what Turtle Beach does, we apply like all of our kind of best, practices, our retail relationships, our global distribution footprint, and same idea as like what we've been doing with Roccat, we want to bring to Neat as well. So we acquired Neat. They have this whole second generation of products coming, and we haven't been able to show anything yet up until recently, which is the first round of the Gen 2 products, and this one here is the first one. This is called the King B2. And so this is Neat's next kind of, this is an XLR microphone. This is their mic that is more for like musical and vocal recordings, things of that nature. But what's neat is in the gaming side of the world, we've also seen a lot of crossover where you have some of the higher profile streamers and content creators like a Dr. Disrespect or somebody like that that's using this higher end equipment in their studio setups just to get the performance gain from using the better quality microphone equipment, right? And so this guy here is planned to launch this July. And again, it's just going to have, one of Neat's big kind of wins here is that they are able to bring all of their expertise. And these are the guys that like literally have pioneered the microphone market. Every kind of significant advancement in microphone technology has come from this kind of core group of like 4 or 5 guys that have been behind Blue Microphones and now Neat Microphones. And so they find this sweet spot of bringing this kind of groundbreaking like tech and pricing it so that it kind of blows the competition away. So when this guy comes out, it's going to be $169, but you would look at this and you think of it and you hold it, you feel the weight of this thing. And you're like, this is probably like a $300 or $400 microphone, and it's going to come out at about half that cost. And that's why, and I would line this up against kind of anything else out there and say, try it, it'll sound better. And if it doesn't, let's talk about it, because I don't believe that's going to be the case. It's just the way they make their stuff is amazing, and the quality and the performance is it's hard to compete.
Yeah, no question. So do you without giving anything too much away, do you think we'll see any updates to other Neat microphones?
Yeah. So if you're familiar with the line, so this is the King B2. They're King B, and it's an analog XLR microphone. You can see by the 3 prongs on the bottom and the plug. This one also comes with like the shock mount cage, right, too. So at $169, you get that. The King B also has kind of a little brother on the analog side, which is the Worker B2. So we have that coming as well. And then also, just like I showed you the B caster that I'm using right now, there are B caster 2, Bumblebee 2. Again, and those are digital mics. Those are digital USB microphones versus the King B and the Worker B, which are analogs, right? And there's another one, and I don't have one here yet, but one of the other mics that we're looking at bringing out soon is called the Skyline. And, based on kind of what we've seen over the past year with everybody working from home, everybody's schooling from home, and that includes both learning from home and teaching from home. And then all of the just general, like everybody who wants to continue moving forward, catching up with friends, family at a distance. A lot of that's not going to go away now that things are starting to kind of return to normal. There's still going to be this really big uptick in people communicating like this. And so Neat created the Skyline as a $69 mic, and it's a stick mic. It comes on your desk, it just has a simple mute button on it and nothing else. You just plug it in and it works. And it's just designed for that audience of people. Like we're all very tech savvy, right? Like we can plug things in, we can uninstall, we can do anything pretty much with limited help. But there's other people out there that don't want to do all that stuff, and that's what the Skyline is for. And so when that comes out also in a couple weeks, that's going to be another kind of game changer for anybody who just wants a really nice, affordable mic at $69 that's going to make them sound better than, certainly better than like the mic that's built into your laptop, right?
Yeah, no question.
Things like that, right? So that's what's coming from Neat, and it's really lining up to be kind of an exciting year to be at Turtle Beach, just with all these kind of expansions happening in kind of what we do here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the new Bcaster and Bumblebee mics. The one that you mentioned, a mute button, that's the one feature that I feel is really strongly missing from the Bumblebee is there's no mute button on it.
And it's funny, even on the Gen 1, because you have the Bumblebee there and I have the Bcaster. Yeah. On the Bcaster, there is a tiny little mute button on the mic, that I can hit like physically with my finger instead of doing something like, picking up your window and finding the mute button on and whatever app or program you're using. So, but yeah, that definitely is one of those kind of key things. And there's no dial, there's no microphone gain, there's no headphone volume. It's just a mic and it works and it's affordable and that's cool for that one.
One thing I really like about the Neat Microphones line is, one thing that we've seen I personally seen a problem with Blue, and I know it's very common, is USB port breakage. There's a lot of issues with the microphones that are on that stand, and you have to, right. So that mine broke just from being there. And I looked it up, and apparently it's very common because there's tension on that part, and a lot of microphones are made the same way, where they put the USB port right where it's moving, so it's easy to break that port. Whereas, right, exactly, just like that.
You're trying to break it right now.
there's like a whole bunch of YouTube videos on how to open it up and solder a new one.
Right.
But when mine broke, I just went and got this Bcaster, this Bumblebee, which I like a lot better, and the USB is built into the base, so that kind of thing can never happen. So it's the little things that are really nice.
Well, I hope we never have to have that conversation.
So so speaking of little things that are really nice that would go with your Neat microphone, and your Roccat headset, is having a really fantastic webcam. And so Michelle has been testing what has now turned out to be the best webcam that we have ever used.
So and like I'm using a Brio right now, and it's pretty impressive. So I'm curious to see what you have here.
Yeah. You
lost audio.
Oh, I think
you hear me?
Yeah, you see, I think that USB cable came loose.
No, I was actually playing with the mute button while you were talking about it, and then I forgot whether flashing meant it was muted or static meant it was muted. So Modern Blue might have some UX issues, but anyways, right now I am calling in on the Dell Ultra Sharp webcam. I've reviewed a lot of webcams for us, but this is easily my favorite so far. But it's a good segue for microphone conversations, because one of the cons it does have is it does not have a built-in microphone. Personally, I don't consider that to be a big con, because I don't normally like built-in microphones on webcams anyway, but I've already noticed like a comment on my review saying no microphone, no deal. So, it's important for a lot of people. But I think aside from that, this webcam has you can see there's going to be a little compression because of the streaming software that we're using, and then also the streaming platforms that we're on. But you can see the quality and the color is just like probably the best that I've seen in one of the webcams that I've reviewed yet. I normally get this weird thing when I go to, film myself, is I look at myself in the mirror, I think, I look great. And then I sit in front of the webcam and I'm like, I'm a monster. I'm not photogenic at all. And this is one of the few webcams I've reviewed that gives me that sort of mirror feeling. It has a lot of features. I have it on at 1080p at 30 FPS right now, because the streaming software compression would just get rid of any other features. But you can do 4K on this. You can do 1080p at 60 FPS. You can even do 24 FPS if you want to do that sort of film frame rate. You can turn on AI auto framing. So I don't have it on right now, but you can move around and the camera will follow you. And I found that it does a pretty good job. It has HDR. It has several different field of view options. So 65 degrees, 78 degrees, 90 degrees. You can prioritize exposure or frame rate in the app, which is something that you can do on the Brio thing. It just basically says if it has to make a choice, it'll choose between these two things automatically. There's autofocus, but there's also digital manual focus. There's manual zoom. There's just pretty much any feature you would want that is in a microphone you have. I would love to show you these features, but unfortunately, I tried it out earlier and our recording software won't let me change the webcam stuff midstream. But it's all in this like sort of easy to use app where it shows you a fairly quickly updating preview of what the camera will look like on the right side. And then the left side has like a scroll down list of things. And that quick to update thing is something I really like because I had previously used a similar webcam from a company called Aver Media, which does a lot of capture card stuff. And their software was very feature full, but just so laggy. I could barely like adjust the brightness or saturation or whatever because moving it like 5 steps out of 100 would, lag me out for 2 or 3 seconds. I'm not getting this here at all. You can also record straight from the app. And you can turn on I have the software off on my second monitor. You can turn on a 3, 2, 1 countdown before you start recording and a framing grid. Which are nice convenience features. Now, Mac told us that he's on the Brio 4K, which unfortunately, despite reviewing our webcams, I haven't had a chance to test personally. Of what I've looked at, I really enjoy what this webcam offers. I think it has a few extra features above the Brio, being that sort of AI auto framing and stuff like this. But honestly, this webcam's just picture quality is probably what impressed me the most. And I'm impressed to get that at the sort of $199 price point, which is expensive. But if you compare it to something like the Razer Kio Pro, which costs the same, this has 4K, that camera doesn't. And the quality of this camera's like color and light just blew that out of the water for me.
Nice. I think we were mentioning it earlier. I would happily trade my camera right now for that human eyeball camera that's been going right now. Just if nothing else, just for the gimmickiness of that, because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, the one thing that you can't see because Michelle's using it is the mounting is a little bit weird because it has a bunch of different mounts.
Yeah.
So instead of having a singular mount on it, they can both do tripod and on top of your monitor. You have to change something on it. So that's a room for improvement. Well, what really blew me away, and we have to get you a Brio so you can compare that too, is that when Michelle took a picture in front of that window next to her with the light shining in, this camera...
the glare.
Yeah. So normally when I do those shots, I expect either my face to be covered in shadow and have some detail at the window, or for the window to just be like a pure sheet of white. It almost looks like paper. And then my face is probably a little overly lit. Usually the shots I get from that are kind of unusable. I'm going to try to do this live, so please forgive me. But when I tested this, I had to finagle it just a little bit, but I got some pretty like impressive, maybe a little overexposed, but pretty usable. I would call into my coworkers with this quality, with it pointing out my window, which is just like, it's a bit of an overcast day right now, but that's such a rare occasion to get in webcams. And now you can see my ceiling while I strap this back on my monitor. Except, actually, I do have another webcam that I think I might swap over to real quick so I can show you the body of the Dell webcam if we have time, because it is an interesting body.
Yeah, just for a sec. So, I think the thing is, if you're making your ultimate setup, you can get something like a Neat microphone. You can get something like the Roccat headset. I noticed that your microphone was so good, Mac, that you you're able to go without headphones at all
Yeah.
and not get echo.
It's a weird thing where for me to be working at Turtle Beach, I actually don't use a headset too frequently, and I actually love the Neat microphones. But you know what? It really is. The moment I switched over, like once we acquired Neat, the moment the guys over there sent me a couple just to test out and try, I mean, it was a noticeable difference, like right away. All of a sudden, people are like, "Oh, dude, you sound like I'm right here," and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I refuse to get rid of this one and give this one away until I get the Gen 2 replacement for it, because and I've seen pictures of them, and they really do. We've kind of deviated away a little bit from the really kind of robust yellow and black kind of B theme. They are going more with a very streamlined black look across all of the line for this, with the logo in the middle. But otherwise, I mean, it's still like the performance is going to be even better, and it's going to be, like I said, it's very exciting to kind of, especially for me too, because I'm the same as you guys. Like, I have like an office here just packed with toys that I get to play with like all day long, and so at some point I'm going to go hook up the Flight Sim and play Flight Sim 2020 on PC again, and then hopefully I'll get some of the new digital mics from Neat sooner than later, so I can start playing around with those too.
Cool. So you were going to show us what this looks like physically, because it's a little weird.
So this camera is a little interesting. I've swapped over to my Logitech C920 right now, which has been our best pick for a while now. We're still debating whether or not that's still the case.
But the color looked better before.
The color looked better before. The difference is that this camera I'm calling on right now is about $79. So it's a pretty steep decrease in price, and if you're not streaming a lot, it's still good enough quality. It might be a better value for you. But as far as like what looks better, the Dell obviously looks better. One place where the Logitech might have a bit of an improvement over it, though, is this mount. This is a very sort of stylish mount, and it even has a little place for the connecting USB to go through, but it doesn't have a foot here at the bottom, which means that it can, if you're not careful, be really loose on your monitor. I managed to get it pretty stable enough, but it can be a little scary when you're first connecting it. I even had a moment like, oh God, is it gonna fall live on show, when I was just putting it back on my monitor a second ago. Yeah. It also has this sort of interesting thing where like this mount, unlike most mounts, because it has this little cord slot in it, does not have a tripod screw on the bottom, but you do get one of those in the box. It's just, you take off the monitor mount, you put on this separate piece. Let's hope I have it facing the right way. I do not. And now you have your tripod mount. So that's another thing you have to keep track of. These mounts are kind of, fun to play with because they're magnetically attached and they fit in this neat little slot. And I suppose if you're working with it on a tripod a lot, this, mount might be more convenient than, having this sort of ugly thing hanging off of your recording setup. But I prefer to sort of have that all-in-one setup that a lot of webcams have, where you have typically this monitor mount will be attached permanently to the bottom, and then there'll be a screw for the tripod on the bottom of that. The other thing is you have this sort of USB cable that slots perfectly, just so snugly, almost to a fault, into this little hole in there. And it's got a USB-C connector on one side, USB-A connector on the other side. And it was about 8 feet when I tested it, which is pretty nice. When you have everything off, it kind of almost looks like a film camera. It's just this tube. This is the actual webcam. Everything else is just like purely analog, mechanical. Which is interesting because there is one more feature to this webcam that I haven't showed off. This webcam has a shutter to a degree. A lot of webcams have a little flick switch you can flick on the side that will cover the front, so you feel like people aren't watching you when you don't want them to. This one has just a little magnetic cover with the Dell logo on it, which is, nice and stylish and classy, but it's another thing you have to keep track of. So in total, excluding the cord, because everything has those, these are all the pieces, like 4 pieces you need to keep track of for your webcam, which is a little much for me.
Yeah, we all have our drawer full of pieces.
Yeah, I have so many pieces and they're so easy to lose. I rather anything be bulkier to not have to remove things. And
One nice thing is the body is this nice sort of I forget what material it's made out of. I believe I mentioned it in the review, but it's this nice sturdy metallic, feels hefty in the hand kind of thing. So again, it looks cool. It feels expensive, but with all that style comes a bit of a lack of convenience.
Yeah. Just because I've gotten into 3D printing recently, I can totally see somebody, since that's removable, creating a magnetic 3D printed 3D printed mount that's maybe better for your mounting on your monitor than the Dell one.
That would be really cool.
So I don't know, just a thought, but that seems really neat. And when you combine that with some of the other cool things that Mac has shown us today, you can get a really fantastic gaming and streaming setup. So I want to thank Mac Marshall from Turtle Beach for coming on today. All of you who watched and listened, and all of you who watch and listen after the fact on YouTube, Facebook, or our site. And of course, we will. Sharon will be here again with some exciting new guests next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we will see you then. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for
Bye,
having me.
everyone.
Appreciate it. Thanks.